Today I'm going to show you the new email features that are embedded in the VG CRM and Fundraiser software version 3.5.01. And just a little bit of history. Prior to this version, all of our emails were written in RTF format and then converted when you sent them to an HTML equivalent. So I'm just going to go in here. Notice I'm logged in as a user, or happen to be in as the administrator. And there's a couple of things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about personal email templates, standard email responses, and then we're going to go in a little bit more and talk about emails themselves. So notice whoever you're logged into, each user can have their own personalized email template. So this is kind of like an email signature, if you will. So in the past we had RTF, which is not utilized anymore. We've kept this tab here in case you did use it in the past, because then you can copy or paste it. So email traditionally is either sent as HTML or plain text. So the difference is plain text has no decoration. So in other words, there's no colors on the fonts. You can't choose different fonts. You can't bold a font or underline it. You can't input or implant graphics. So it's basically exactly what we talked about. It's just very, very plain text. So you should always put a plain text signature in. So for example, if my name was Paul Snyder, and then I could do my email address, company.com, and your phone number, something like that. So notice there's no bolding or anything like that. And I'll just go ahead and save that. You don't need to do anything with RTF. That's just left in place if you did use this in the past, so you could have access to your prior signature. But then you should set up an HTML template or signature as well. So same thing. I'm going to go down a couple lines, and I'm going to put it in here. And you can get a little bit fancy if you want. So for example, if I wanted to bold something here, I can highlight it and bold it, or I could change the color, and pretty straightforward. I won't go too far into that. You can see how you can decorate or change the font styles with many different options. So I'm just going to save that. So that's the first part. You should make sure that you've set up your personalized signature in there. Second, so I'm going to come back later and talk about standard email responses, but let's just go right to where we're going to do emails. So if you're in on a prospect's file like this and you want to send them an email, you click on this button up here. So notice once again, just down to this middle part of the screen, you can choose to send an email either in plain text, which once again, there's no decoration, no images, no colors, very, very basic, and HTML format. So I just want to talk a bit in general terms about what the two mean to you. Of course, everybody likes the HTML format because they can put some markings up in the body and make it look really pleasant and nice, and use colors to accentuate certain points, so on and so forth. If you're doing bulk emails, an HTML formatted message is subjected to more scrutiny in the spam guard. So sometimes that's why you see bulk emails are done quite often in text format, because they tend to be less of a threat to any spam filtering device, and more likely to make it through any spam guard. So that's the reasons why you choose those two different ones. Today, more or less, when we're sending emails one-on-one, it's generally done in an HTML format, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate to you here today. So we've changed our interface for picking who you send it to. So when you click to, it's going to pull up everybody in the company that you're sending the email to. You can choose your flags off here if you want it to send it to certain groups, and we only have one group set up here in our demo. And or you can choose individual people or groups of people like that from the list. You can, over here, if you start with, well, actually, if we start here, if I just type in demo email here, you'll notice if I was to click the new button over here, what it will do is it will blank out the subject. If I had any attachments, it would clear those out. And it starts by putting my signature onto the email. So you'll notice if I do that, how that comes up like that. So now I'll retype my subject, demo email. And then if I just plop into here, I can say, hello, Lily. It was great to meet with you last week. Okay. And once again, you'll notice you can choose certain attributes. So I can change, say, the font size in this one to make it bigger. I can put in the ever-friendly emoticons in here, and so on and so forth. And I can make things bold or change colors or certain things like that. So pretty basic email stuff like that. And if I was going to do attachments, I'd click on this button and I can select certain things on here, and I can build a repertoire of attachments. Okay, so that's some pretty basic stuff. Sometimes, however, what you might want to do is if you're doing common responses to people all the time that have the same body, you can, in our software, you can save time by creating email texts to send. So for example, if I want, I can pull up my library of email texts, and I have one set up called service line hours. And if I click OK here, it will then tell me I pick where I want to paste it, and I select the paste, and that puts it in there. Okay. So you can create these standard email texts like that as mentioned. So here's how you do a standard email text. So you can come into this section. Sorry, let me just close that. You come into this section of the menu, and now basically, I'll get rid of that. You can create a new email text like this. So you can say, let's say we want to do one and talk about our Sunday sales. And then I save it, and then I choose my format. So HTML is the most common one. So I can say, remember every Sunday that we hold a sell-off on the internet. Now, I'm not going to pretty this up, but you can imagine that you can put pictures in there and so on and so forth. And when you save that, when you come back to do your email, then that becomes another choice that you can pick and put in your email. So that's a fairly short one. The ones that we happen to use internally are quite long. They're a couple pages long, and they have lots of technical details. So it's really useful when you're doing common responses quite often. So there's a couple of caveats with this. The one that we haven't explored too much right now is the inputting of images. So this icon right here is where you can insert an image. And this is a relatively new direction we've taken with this HTML formatted emails. And we've used it with a collaboration of tools. And this whole editor is a collaboration from another firm, and it works rather well. But we find this a little bit cumbersome, so I just want to cover that with you. So when I click on it, what I can do is I can tell it the image that I want to get. My first idea about this is that there isn't a browser on here, so there's no way to browse to that. So I actually have to know where the image is and where I want to upload it from. Now, just a common comment about images. When you're sending emails with images, you're best to try to use an image that's stored on the internet on a safe site. You can embed them, and I know we often do that in our own emails. If you're going to embed them, at least using this tool, you actually have to know the path where it's at. So for example, if I go into let's see if I can find one here. Yeah, so if I go into here and find this one in this folder under work, and it's called the girls, or better yet, if I use shoes, that's going to be a better one for me to show you what we're going to do. And here's why. So if I want to embed an image, I have to type that. Okay, and then you can do an image description. These are shoes. And it's a little bit run off my screen because I've I've downsized my monitor to fit into something friendly here, but then you click on the insert button and there it is, and then you can size it and all that stuff. So that's one way to do it, and then the software will send that image over. The thing to be watching out for is spaces in it. So if I go back here and I do the other photo that was in there, and it was called The Girls, it happened to be a picture of my dogs. And there they are, aren't they cute? And again, I'll just save that. You'll notice it doesn't show in here, and that's because there was a space in. So unfortunately for now, what you'll have to do is you'd have to go back and you'd have to find that photo and you'd have to rename it so that there's no space in there. And that goes the same for the path for the photo. We'll probably have to address this issue, but it'll be done in another update here. So now if I go back here and I edit that, and here's how the space represents itself. So now I have to take that out. So it's just a little caveat. Working with images might be a little bit cumbersome for you to start, but that's the way that would work. And then I could send that off. Lastly, with emails, and if we go here to where we do conversations and you create new conversations, and if you are doing an email follow-up here, you can, we've embedded this exact same functionality into the following up an activity by email, which some of us do quite often for our marketing purposes. So it basically works essentially the same. It's got the HTML editor and, as I mentioned previously, the text editor, which is usually a little bit better for doing a bulk email. So you can choose which format you want to use when you are doing your emails. Anyway, that's a brief overview of the new email feature built into the Grasp CRM/fundraiser software for version 3.5.01. Thank you.